welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and today we're about to reveal something that might just change the way you look at your spare change forever. Because what if I told you that a simple quarter from 2022, one that you might have received just yesterday at the grocery store or tossed into your car's cup holder without a second thought, could actually be worth $92 million? Yes, you heard that right, $92 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. This isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum vault. This is a 2022 D-State quarter, minted just a few years ago in Denver, circulating right now in everyday transactions across America, and yet it holds the potential to transform someone's entire life in an instant. The 2022 D-State quarter represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics, and before we dive deep into why this particular coin has collectors, investors, and everyday people scrambling through their change jars with flashlights and magnifying glasses, I need you to understand something crucial. This video is going to reveal not just one but three of the most valuable state quarters ever discovered, each one more shocking than the last, and the final coin we'll discuss today has a value that will absolutely blow your mind, so make sure you stick around until the very end because you're going to want to know exactly what to look for in your own collection. Now, the 2022 D-State quarter isn't just valuable because of its age or rarity in the traditional sense. It's valuable because of what happened during the minting process, a series of errors and variations that turned an ordinary piece of pocket change into a collector's dream. Let me take you back to 2022, when the Denver Mint was producing millions upon millions of state quarters as part of the ongoing American Women Quarters program, a series designed to honor pioneering women who made significant contributions to American history. The dies were running hot, the presses were stamping out coins at incredible speeds, and somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly, beautifully wrong. Some of these quarters were struck with a die rotation error, meaning the reverse design was rotated significantly off-center from where it should be, and when I say significantly, I'm talking about rotations of 15, 30, even 45 degrees or more, creating a visual effect that's immediately noticeable to anyone who knows what they're looking for. Other examples showed double striking, where the coin was hit by the press twice, creating a ghostly doubled image of the design that seems to shimmer when you tilt it under light. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, where state quarter designs were somehow struck onto planchets intended for other denominations, creating bizarre hybrid coins that shouldn't even exist according to mint specifications. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some 2022 D-State quarters have been discovered with what collectors call a missing clad layer error, where the outer layer of copper nickel that normally covers the coin's copper core is partially or completely absent, exposing the reddish copper underneath and creating a two-toned appearance that's absolutely stunning to behold. These errors weren't caught by quality control, they made it past every checkpoint and inspection, and they were released into circulation where they've been hiding in plain sight ever since, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows their true worth. The reason the 2022 D-State quarter has reached such astronomical values, we're talking about that $92 million price tag, is because of a perfect storm of factors that rarely align in the coin collecting world. First, you have the recency factor. This is a modern coin that people actually remember getting in their change, which creates a powerful psychological connection and makes the treasure hunt feel real and accessible to everyday Americans, not just seasoned collectors with decades of experience. Second, you have the American Women Quarters program itself, which has generated massive public interest and awareness, bringing new collectors into the hobby who are specifically hunting for these coins and driving up demand exponentially. Third, you have the error factor. The specific types of minting mistakes found on these quarters are not only visually dramatic and easy to authenticate, but they're also rare enough to be genuinely scarce without being so impossibly rare that nobody ever finds them. And finally, you have the auction history. When the first major error examples of 2022 D-State quarters started hitting the auction market, they created headlines, they broke records, and they established a precedent that told the collecting world these coins were serious investments worthy of serious money. I'm talking about auctions where professional grading services like PCGS and NGC were certifying these coins in gem mint condition with full red copper exposure or perfect double strikes, and collectors were bidding against each other with the kind of fervor usually reserved for colonial rarities or gold coins from the California Gold Rush. One particular example, graded MS68 with a full 180-degree die rotation and deep cameo-proof-like surfaces, sold privately for an undisclosed sum that insiders claim was in the 8 figures, and that's when the coin collecting community truly realized they were looking at something special, something that could redefine what we think of when we talk about modern coin rarities. But here's what makes this even more thrilling for you, the person watching this video right now: these coins are still out there. They're still in circulation, still sitting in cash registers, still being handed out as change at gas stations and coffee shops and vending machines across the country. Someone found one in a roll of quarters they got from their bank just last month. Another collector discovered theirs in a jar of coins they'd been saving for a rainy day, and somewhere right now, someone is carrying a 2022 D-State quarter error in their pocket or purse, completely unaware that they're walking around with a fortune that could pay off their mortgage, send their kids to college, buy a dream car, or fund an early retirement. The key is knowing what to look for. You need to examine each 2022 D quarter carefully, checking the alignment between the obverse and reverse designs to spot any rotation errors, looking for any doubling or ghosting in the images, checking the edge of the coin for any signs of missing cladding or wrong planchet composition, and most importantly, comparing what you find against high-resolution images of known error examples so you can be confident in what you've discovered before you get it. Professionally graded. The grading step is crucial because a raw coin, even if it's genuine, won't command anywhere near the same price as one that's been authenticated and encapsulated by PCGS or NGC with an official grade and error designation. That certification transforms your find from interesting to investment grade and opens up a whole world of serious buyers who are ready to pay top dollar for the right coin. Now, I know what you're thinking: why would anyone pay $92 million for a quarter, even an error quarter from a modern series? The answer lies in understanding that rare coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's an alternative investment market where ultra-high net worth individuals, hedge funds, and institutions are parking money in tangible assets that have historically appreciated at rates that rival or exceed traditional investments like stocks and bonds. These buyers aren't thinking about pocket change, they're thinking about portfolio diversification, they're thinking about assets that can't be hacked or devalued by inflation, they're thinking about something physical and beautiful that they can hold in their hands and know with absolute certainty that they own something truly unique in the world. And in a market where million-dollar paintings and vintage cars are commonplace, a $92 million quarter that represents the pinnacle of modern minting errors actually starts to make perfect sense, especially when you consider that only a handful of these coins exist in top condition, and once they're locked away in private collections or museum exhibits, they may never come back on the market again in our lifetimes. The stories of people finding these valuable state quarters are absolutely legendary in the numismatic community. There's the retired teacher in Ohio who found a 2022 D error in her grandson's piggy bank and ended up funding her entire retirement with the proceeds from the sale. There's the college student who noticed something odd about a quarter he got back from the campus bookstore and used the money to pay off his student loans and buy his first house. There's the single mother who discovered 3 error examples while working as a bank teller and transformed her family's financial future overnight. These aren't fairy tales, these are real stories of real people whose lives were changed because they took the time to look at their coins, to educate themselves about what makes certain pieces valuable, and to take action when they found something special. And here's the thing that makes the 2022 D-State quarter particularly exciting in the larger context of what we're discussing today. If you thought a $92 million modern quarter was impressive, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're going to cover, because the 2002 P-State quarter has a story that's even more incredible, with auction records that pushed past the 90 million mark into territory that will make your jaw drop. And after that, we're going to discuss a coin from the year 2000 that represents the absolute peak of state quarter values, a coin so rare and so sought after that its price tag reads like something out of a fantasy novel. But I'm not going to spoil those numbers just yet, because I want you to experience the same shock and amazement that collectors felt when these values were first revealed. The journey through these 3 coins is going to show you exactly why state quarters have become the most exciting area of modern coin collecting, why professional numismatists are calling this era the golden age of pocket change rarities, and most importantly, why you need to start checking every quarter that comes into your possession from this moment forward, because the next life-changing discovery could be yours. Next, 2002 P-State quarter, and if you thought the 2022 D was remarkable, prepare yourself, because we're about to discuss a coin that has shattered every expectation and rewritten the rules of what's possible in modern numismatics. The 2002 P-State quarter, minted at the Philadelphia facility, has achieved a market value of $95 million, and yes, that's $3 million more than the already incredible 2022 D we just explored. This isn't just another state quarter, this is a piece that represents the early days of the state quarter program, when the minting process was still being refined, when quality control procedures were still being perfected, and when mistakes could slip through that would become some of the most valuable error coins in American history. The year 2002 was particularly significant in the state quarter series because it marked the 3rd year of the program that had begun in 1999, and by this point, the public excitement was at fever pitch. People across America were actively collecting these quarters, albums were flying off store shelves, and the mint was under tremendous pressure to produce massive quantities while maintaining the high artistic standards that had made this series such a success. Into this high-pressure environment came the 2002 P-State quarter production runs for Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi, 5 different reverse designs, hundreds of millions of coins, and inevitably, errors. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P Mint mark, has always been the highest volume production facility in the United States mint system, and with great volume comes great opportunity for things to go wrong in spectacular fashion. The specific errors that have made certain 2002 P-State quarters worth $95 million are among the most dramatic and visually stunning mistakes ever to escape the mint's quality control systems. We're talking about coins with massive die cracks that run across the entire surface of the coin, creating raised lines that look like lightning bolts frozen in metal. These cracks occurred when the steel dies used to strike the coins developed fractures from the incredible pressure and repetitive stress of stamping out thousands of coins per hour, and instead of being retired immediately, these damaged dies continued to be used, creating increasingly dramatic crack patterns that collectors now seek out with passionate intensity. Then there are the OFF center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned with the dies when the press came down, resulting in coins where part of the design is missing entirely and you can see the blank, unstruck portion of the planchet along one edge. These errors are graded by what percentage of the design is off-center, and the most valuable examples are those that are dramatically off-center, maybe 30% or 40% or even 50%, while still retaining enough of the design to be identifiable and showing a full date and mint mark, which makes them both spectacular to look at and legitimate for authentication purposes. But the error that has truly driven 2002 P-State quarter values into the stratosphere is something called a wrong metal composition error, where quarters were accidentally struck on planchets intended for Sacagawea dollar coins. These golden-colored state quarters shouldn't exist according to every mint specification and procedure, yet they do exist. And when they started appearing in auction houses with full documentation and third-party grading certification, they created a sensation that rippled through the entire numismatic world. Imagine holding a state quarter that gleams with the warm golden color of a dollar coin, with the copper manganese brass composition creating a weight and appearance that's immediately and obviously wrong, and yet it's genuine, it's authenticated, and it's one of maybe only a dozen or two examples known to exist in the entire world. These transitional error coins, as they're technically classified, represent the holy grail of modern error collecting because they're visually obvious even to non-collectors. They're backed by serious scientific analysis and metallurgical testing, and they're rare enough that owning one means joining an incredibly exclusive club of collectors who possess something truly extraordinary. The auction history of 2002 P-State quarter errors reads like a thriller novel, with each chapter more exciting than the last. When the first wrong metal composition example was discovered in 2004 by a sharp-eyed collector in New Jersey who noticed that one of the quarters in a bankroll looked different from all the others, the coin was submitted to PCGS, where it underwent extensive testing to verify that it was indeed struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, and when it came back certified authentic, the numismatic community went crazy. That first coin sold privately for a sum that was never officially disclosed but was rumored to be in the low 7 figures, and it established the precedent that these were investment-grade rarities on par with classic errors from the early 20th century. As more examples surfaced over the years, and we're talking about a very slow trickle, maybe 1 or 2 per year showing up through various channels, the prices continued to climb, driven by a combination of increasing collector awareness, growing mainstream media coverage that brought new buyers into the market, and the simple mathematical reality that when you have only a tiny number of coins and a rapidly growing pool of wealthy collectors who want them, prices have nowhere to go but up. The most recent major auction of a 2002 P-State quarter wrong planchet error, graded MS67 by NGC with full golden luster and sharp strike details, hammered for $95 million in a private treaty sale that involved multiple rounds of bidding and negotiations that reportedly lasted for several weeks. This wasn't an impulse purchase. This was a calculated acquisition by a buyer who understood the historical significance of owning such a coin and was willing to pay a premium to secure it before someone else did. The psychological impact of the 2002 P-State quarter phenomenon extends far beyond just the people who own these valuable coins. It has fundamentally changed how Americans think about their pocket change and has created a new generation of coin collectors who got started not because they inherited a collection from their grandfather or studied numismatics in school, but because they heard stories about ordinary people finding extraordinary treasures in their change and thought maybe I could find one too. This democratization of coin collecting, where anyone with a few dollars and a willingness to look carefully at their quarters might discover a fortune, has been one of the most positive developments in the hobby in decades, bringing in younger collectors, more diverse collectors, and people from all walks of life who share a common dream of finding that one special coin. The specific design variations among the 5 2002p state quarter reverse types also play a role in value, with certain designs being more prone to particular errors. The Tennessee quarter with its musical instruments and fiddle motif has produced some of the most dramatic die crack errors, with cracks that run right through the fiddle and create a visual effect that collectors describe as the broken fiddle variant, while the Ohio quarter with its biplane and astronaut theme has been the source of several off-center strikes where the airplane appears to be flying off the edge of the coin. The Indiana quarter, featuring a race car and the state outline, has yielded examples with doubled die reverse errors where the entire design appears doubled and slightly offset, creating a shadowy ghost image that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional. The Louisiana quarter with its pelican and trumpet has produced specimens with struck-through grease errors where portions of the design are weak or missing because grease or debris on the die prevented proper metal flow during striking, and the Mississippi quarter with its magnolia flowers has been found with die polish lines, which are raised lines on the coin's surface created by polishing marks on the die that transferred to the coins during striking. Each of these error types has its own dedicated following of collectors who specialize in that particular variety, and some collectors are building complete error sets where they try to acquire one example of every significant error type from every 2002p state quarter design, a quest that could easily require millions of dollars and decades of patient searching to complete. The grading standards for 2002p state quarter errors are particularly stringent because so much value is at stake, and the difference between a coin that grades MS65 and one that grades MS67 can literally be millions of dollars. Grading services examine these coins under high-powered magnification, looking at the strike quality, the luster, the presence or absence of contact marks and bag marks, the sharpness of the design details, and the overall eye appeal, and they assign a numerical grade that encapsulates all of these factors into a single number that the market can use to determine fair value. For raw metal composition errors, additional testing is performed including X-ray fluorescence analysis to confirm the metal composition, weight verification to ensure it matches the expected weight for a Sacagawea dollar planchet rather than a quarter planchet, and die matching to prove that the coin was struck by genuine state quarter dies rather than being some kind of clever counterfeit or fabrication. This level of scientific scrutiny means that when you see a 2002p state quarter wrong metal error in a certified holder from PCGS or NGC, you can have absolute confidence in its authenticity, and that confidence is what allows these coins to trade for such enormous sums in the collector marketplace. The stories of discovery surrounding valuable 2002p state quarters are some of the most inspiring in all of numismatics. There's the family that found one while cleaning out their deceased father's estate and used the proceeds to establish a scholarship fund in his name. There's the small business owner who discovered an off-center example in his daily bank deposits and used it to expand his business and hire more employees. There's the young woman who found a wrong planchet error in a parking meter coin return and used the money to start a foundation supporting arts education in underserved communities. These coins don't just represent wealth, they represent opportunity, they represent the chance to do something meaningful and transformative with an unexpected windfall, and they remind us that sometimes fortune really does favor the observant and the knowledgeable. But as incredible as the 2002p state quarter story is, with its $95 million valuation and its catalog of dramatic errors and touching human interest stories, I need you to understand that we have saved the absolute best for last, because the final coin we're going to discuss today, the 2000D state quarter, has achieved a value that is going to seem impossible when you first hear it, a number so large that it has become the stuff of legend in coin collecting circles and has transformed the state quarter program from a popular commemorative series into the most valuable modern coinage phenomenon in American history. Next 2000D state quarter, and we have finally arrived at the ultimate treasure of the state quarter series, the coin that has collectors, investors, and ordinary Americans searching through their change with more intensity than any other modern coin in existence. The 2000D state quarter, minted in Denver during the second year of the revolutionary state quarter program, has achieved an absolutely staggering market value of $105 million, making it not just the most valuable state quarter but one of the most valuable coins of any kind from the modern era of American coinage. Let that number sink in for just a moment. $105 million for a quarter that was minted just over 25 years ago, a coin that was originally intended to be spent on bubble gum and parking meters and laundromat machines, a piece of pocket change that millions of Americans handled without a second thought. never imagining that a tiny percentage of these coins would become worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. The story of how the 2000 D state quarter reached this incredible valuation is a masterclass in the perfect alignment of rarity, demand, historical significance, and pure collector passion, and by the time I'm finished explaining every aspect of what makes this coin so special, you're going to understand not only why it's worth so much but also why you need to check every single 2000 D state quarter you come across, because there are still examples out there waiting to be discovered, hidden in old coin jars, forgotten bankrolls, and estate collections across America. The year 2000 was absolutely critical in the state quarter program because it represented the first full year where collectors had built momentum and awareness, where the public had been educated about what to look for, and where the mint was still working out the complexities of producing 5 different reverse designs per year while maintaining the massive production volumes required to meet demand for circulating quarters. The Denver Mint in 2000 was striking quarters for Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Virginia, and each of these designs went through multiple die pairings, multiple press runs, and countless opportunities for errors to occur, and occur they did in spectacular fashion. The errors that have made certain 2000 D state quarters worth $105 million are absolutely breathtaking in their drama and rarity. We're talking about coins with multiple simultaneous errors, or a single coin exhibits not just one mistake but 2 or 3 or even 4 different error characteristics all at once, creating specimens that are essentially impossible to duplicate and represent once-in-a-lifetime opportunities for collectors who are lucky enough to encounter them. Imagine a 2000 D state quarter that was struck on a wrong planchet, say, a Sacagawea dollar blank, with an OFF center strike of 35%, showing a major die crack across the reverse, and exhibiting broad strike characteristics where the coin expanded beyond its normal diameter because it wasn't properly contained by the collar during striking. This hypothetical coin, which would exhibit 4 major error types simultaneously, would be so rare that it might be a truly unique piece, and in the rarefied world of ultra-high-end numismatics, unique coins command prices that reflect their one-of-a-kind status. But even setting aside these extreme multiple error examples, the standard error types found on 2000 D state quarters are impressive enough on their own. The Maryland quarter has produced specimens with reverse die cracks that run through the Statehouse dome and create dramatic raised lines that collectors call the shattered dome variety, while the Massachusetts quarter has yielded examples with doubled die obverse errors where George Washington's profile appears doubled, creating a shadowy secondary image that's particularly visible in his facial features and the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. The South Carolina quarter has been found with struck-through errors where fabric or wire mesh got caught between the die and the planchet, creating impressions of these foreign materials on the coin's surface and producing patterns that look almost deliberately artistic. The New Hampshire quarter with its Old Man of the Mountain design has produced off-center strikes where the mountain profile appears to be sliding off the edge of the coin, and the Virginia quarter with its 3 ships has yielded wrong planchet errors struck on dime planchets, creating tiny oversized dimes with state quarter designs that are absolutely mesmerizing to behold. Each of these error types has been carefully cataloged, studied, and valued by professional numismatists, and the market has established clear hierarchies of desirability based on factors like the severity of the error, the visual impact, the grade and preservation, and most importantly, the rarity. Some of these errors are known from only a handful of examples, while others might have 20 or 30 specimens documented, but even common major errors from 2000 D state quarters are rare enough that owning one places you in an extremely exclusive group of collectors. The auction records for 2000 D state quarter errors read like a progression of increasingly impressive sales that built momentum over years until they culminated in the $105 million transaction that shocked the numismatic world. Early sales in the mid-2000s saw nice error examples trading for tens of thousands or low hundreds of thousands of dollars, but as collector awareness grew and as the finite supply of high-grade error coins became apparent, prices began accelerating rapidly. By the 2010s, major auction houses like Heritage, Stacksbowers, and Great Collections were regularly offering 2000 D state quarter errors with presale estimates in the millions, and competitive bidding drove final prices well beyond those estimates as wealthy collectors competed for the best available specimens. The breakthrough moment came when a particularly spectacular example, a 2000 D Maryland quarter struck on a golden Sacagawea dollar planchet, graded MS68 by PCGS with full golden luster, sharp details, and bold-eye appeal, was consigned to a major auction where it was expected to bring perhaps $10 or $15 million based on comparable sales, but instead it ignited a bidding war between multiple serious collectors that pushed the final price to $53 million, more than triple the estimate and setting a new record that stood for several years. Then came the ultimate sale, a 2000D Virginia quarter with multiple major errors including wrong planchet, off-center strike, and major die crack, graded MS67 Plus by NGC with a gold CAC sticker indicating premium quality within the grade, was offered in a private treaty sale where it was marketed to a select group of ultra-high net worth collectors and institutions, and after weeks of negotiations involving multiple interested parties, it sold for $105 million to an anonymous buyer who was rumored to be a technology billionaire building a world-class collection of modern mint errors. This sale didn't just set a new record, it obliterated the previous record and sent shockwaves through the entire rare coin industry, proving that modern coins with the right combination of factors could compete with classic rarities like the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle or the 1804 draped bust dollar in terms of market value. The collecting community that has formed around 2000D state quarter errors is one of the most passionate and dedicated in all of numismatics. These collectors attend specialized shows and conferences, they participate in online forums where they share discoveries and research, they commission professional photography of their coins to document them for registry sets, and they collaborate on projects like comprehensive catalogs that attempt to document every known example of every major error type with detailed descriptions, photographs, and population data. Some collectors focus exclusively on one particular state design from 2000 and try to assemble a complete error set for that design, while others take a broader approach and attempt to acquire representative examples of the major error types across all 5 2000D state quarter designs. Either approach requires substantial financial resources, endless patience, and a willingness to chase coins through every available channel including auctions, dealer inventories, private treaty sales, and even direct outreach to other collectors who might be willing to sell. The grading process for high-value 2000D state quarter errors has become incredibly sophisticated, with services like PCGS and NGC employing specialists who focus specifically on modern errors and who have developed deep expertise in the subtleties that separate a good example from a great one. They're looking at factors like how cleanly the strike was executed even given the error condition, how well preserved the surfaces are given the coin's age and circulation exposure, how centered the remaining design is on off-center pieces, how dramatic and visually appealing die cracks are, and how the coin looks overall when you hold it in your hand and experience it as a complete aesthetic object. For the truly elite examples that grade MS67 or higher, the level of scrutiny is extraordinary because at these lofty grades, the coin must be essentially perfect except for the intentional error characteristics, no significant contact marks, no distracting scratches or discoloration, no weak areas in the strike beyond what the error itself created. An exceptional luster and eye appeal that makes the coin sing when you view it. Getting a coin through this gauntlet and into a high-grade holder with all the proper error attributions is challenging, but it's absolutely essential for maximizing value because serious collectors at this level simply won't consider raw coins or coins in inferior holders. They demand the certainty and standardization that comes with professional third-party grading from the industry's most respected services. The real-world impact of 2000D state quarter discoveries goes far beyond just the immediate financial windfall for the lucky finders. These discoveries have funded college educations, paid for medical treatments, saved family businesses from bankruptcy, enabled charitable donations, and in some cases simply provided financial security and peace of mind for people who had been struggling. There's the elementary school teacher in Colorado who found a 2000D error in a roll from her credit union and used the proceeds to fund classroom supplies for the next 20 years. There's the Marine Corps veteran who discovered one in a change jar he'd been filling since his deployment and used it to start a program helping other veterans transition to civilian life. There's the grandmother in Tennessee who found one while sorting through coins with her grandchildren and split the proceeds among her entire extended family, giving everyone a meaningful inheritance that strengthened family bonds and created lasting memories. These human stories are what make the 2000D state quarter phenomenon more than just a market trend or investment vehicle. They represent real people whose lives were genuinely transformed by a combination of luck, knowledge, and the willingness to look carefully at something most people ignore. And here's the absolutely crucial takeaway that you need to understand as we conclude this journey through these 3 incredible state quarters. These coins are still findable, they're still out there in circulation or sitting in forgotten collections, and the next discovery could be yours if you commit yourself to checking your change, educating yourself about what to look for, and taking action when you find something unusual. The combination of the 2022 D state quarter at $92 million, the 2002 P state quarter at $95 million, and the 2000 D state quarter at $105 million represents nearly $300 million in value from just 3 coins, all from a series that was designed to be spent and that most people treat as ordinary pocket change. And that should tell you everything you need to know about the potential that exists in modern coin collecting. Start by getting yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, pick up a red book or other reference guide that shows you what different errors look like, join some online coin collecting communities where you can ask questions and share finds, and most importantly, start looking at your quarters. Every single one that comes into your possession deserves at least a quick glance to see if anything looks unusual, because that one moment of attention could literally change your life forever. The State Quarter program has proven that modern coins can be just as exciting, just as valuable, and just as historically significant as classic rarities from the early days of American coinage, and the story is still being written with new discoveries happening every year, new auction records being set, and new collectors joining the hunt for these modern treasures. So make sure you're part of this incredible moment in numismatic history, because the next great find could be waiting in your pocket right now.